Hey guys, we are here at the Corsair suite at Computex 2013. They have a couple of new cases they've just announced, so George will go over with us about those. And they also have the new Vengeance Pro memory, specifically designed for overclocking. So let's first check out the cases and then move on to the Vengeance Pro memory. I'm here with George, the product manager for cases and cooling. So George, go through us some new cases you guys have here at Computex 2013.
This is a kind of a new flagship for the Carbide series. It's our high airflow case. It's designed to be kind of the highest end Carbide series case. It's called the Carbide AIR 540, and it's a pretty big divergence from the layout of a typical case.
Yep.
We took the mechanical hard drive cages and the optical drive cages and kind of moved them around. Took the power supply and moved it around. And everything in this chamber is designed to be an active cooling product.
Right.
So you have fans for your video cards that blow right over them. Your CPU cooler gets fresh airflow. Yep. Memory and even mechanical hard drives right here are directly cooled. On the passive side of the case, on this side, if I flip it around real quick,
yep.
This is where we'll have power supply, SSDs, optical drive cage, and your cable routing back here. And the reason we did that is because these things are either passively cooled or can cool themselves like the power supply does. It doesn't need case airflow. So this is by itself back here, and that allows us to get the best air cooling possible on this side. So we've tested this case versus all the competitors' cases. We haven't found a case that is better than this on airflow. And we even have flexibility.
Oh, nice.
If you remove the top and the front, you actually have really good cooling on the front with the dual 140s that we include and a rear 140. And then there's a dust filter here to keep the dust from getting inside the case. You can fit a 360 millimeter radiator or a 240 or 280 millimeter radiator here. So there's that. We can go. This is $139 US. Comes with a full side panel window, and it'll be available towards the end of July. And we'll go through and talk about some other cases in a second.
All right, so coming to another case, what do we have here?
This is the 330R. It's also a Carbide series case. The premise here was to take a 300R, which is one of our most popular cases and a really good high airflow gaming case. It's kind of a mid-level price point, and to make a silent version of it. So we keep the same internals. The only change being is that we added a little bit of height for H100i, H110 compatibility, which is something people who have bought the 300R have asked us to do. And then we added sound damping all throughout it. So the side panels are solid and have sound damping high density foam. The top has a removable high density foam cover with a plastic thing that just clips in. And then the front has a front door that is a similar brushed aluminum texture to the 550D, but it's actually plastic that is molded like this, just like the front of the 300R is. Internally, it has a slab of steel behind it and then a piece of rubber here that keeps it nice and quiet, and the weight of the steel helps keep vibration down. Right behind that is your dust filter to access for the front 140 millimeter fan. Very easy to change out.
You can also do dual 120s?
Dual 120s or 140s in the front. And then inside the case, the rear is a 120. The top can do dual 140s or 120s as well, if you'd like that as well. There's no hard drive cage in the way, just like 300R, so you get really good airflow right to your hottest components again, and it gets the air in and out of the case. And the 4 drive trays are SSD or 3.5-inch compatible.
Right. So given this is you're turning 300R into sort of a silent case, how do you go about giving us same airflow options, but because of the sound dampening foam, how obviously airflow is being sort of limiting. So how do you how do you approach that issue?
So the main idea was to look at the 300R's performance and say, how do we affect that in a minimal way, like you said. We still want to make it quieter, but how do you affect the performance in a very small amount? So after doing things like, we did a test to see exactly how far that front door needs to be away from this to get the right amount of intake. And it turns out about 20 millimeters, anything past that is unnecessary. You get the same number at 20 millimeters as if you put the front door 50 millimeters away. So we said, okay, but anything closer restricts it. So that's why there's that gap between that and the front. And then if you look at this power supply and setup in here, we still have that same good airflow in here, and you have a very similar airflow into the front. The only difference is, instead of on the 300R where the noise comes straight out the front mesh, now it's redirected away from the end user. The top of the 300R was made a little bit taller for the 330R. That extra volume of air inside the case helps as well, because it takes longer to heat up a large volume of air. So we can keep the fans nice and quiet and get the air in and out. So actually, compared to 300R, this is only about 1 or 2 degrees warmer in our testing on the same chassis hardware, but it's about 5 decibels quieter, which is significant from a, because decibels is a logarithmic scale, so it's a much quieter chassis.
Right. So adding the sound dampening material onto the side panel, how much does that affect? And if you kept a panel that is acrylic window, does that affect anything?
The acrylic window basically negates any sound damping you put on that side panel. So you might still get some on the back side, but the window itself is either made of polycarbonate, acrylic, or Lexan, or some other clear material, and those typically are not anywhere near good at being quiet. They tend to rattle because of the attach method. They can either rattle or expand and contract when it heats up or cools down, and these are just not good for quiet cases. So now if you did buy a 300R window from the 300R windowed version and put it on this case, it would work, but it would no longer be a silent case. It would be, a case with a front door and a window, which is not a quiet case.
Right.
So.
And I guess you're keeping up all the same internal components, so all the same cable management configurations, rubber grommets, all cable tie notches and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're pretty famous for having done the cable routing grommets and cable stuff like that we kind of invented at that time. And then every one of our cases has just a ton of tool-free hardware, so that it makes it kind of easy to build your case. My core philosophy is that, if you are building a PC case, it's because you want to be building a PC case. So let's make it as fun and easy as possible for you to build your next gen case. And that's why every case we have has like tool-free things, thumb screws everywhere, tool-free hard drive cages when we can, and a total minimal lack of tools needed. So you don't have to find a different screwdriver. Right. You don't have to worry about having the right screws in your drawer. The only thing you really have to screw in is your motherboard tray, and your motherboard rather. And we've done a bunch of experiments to try and find a way around that too. Is it possible to install a motherboard without tools? We've never found one that was easier than just using a screwdriver. Yeah. One day we might, but for right now, it's still easier to use a screwdriver for the screws that we have. Now we did make it a little bit easier because on all of our cases we have a center post on the middle.
The motherboard just fits in place.
The middle standoff is a center post, so you put the motherboard in, line up your I/O panel in the rear, and then you just put it on the post and it stays in place while you screw the rest in. And even that little change, which is a very inexpensive thing to do, is something many of our competitors don't do or haven't thought to do, but it makes building your case a lot easier and more fun. So it's kind of our philosophy: make it easier, make it more fun, and then add a bunch of cool features and performance stuff.
Okay. So when is this coming out, and what's the price range?
This is $89 US, and this is available in late July.
July. Okay. Well, thanks, George. 2 new cases from Corsair, pretty known for your cable management. Great addition from the 300R, slight modifications for sound dampening foam for those who need it, and also very extreme new Carbide series. This is the Airflow 540, giving us extra space behind the motherboard where you can tuck away all your power supply, your cables. So the front of the case or the side of the case gets all your hardware to and I guess for the better of the airflow, so everything goes through. All the components that need to be cooled are in their right spots versus the others that don't need any passive cooling, let's say. Okay. So hey guys, we're here with Rick Allen, the Director of Public Relations here at Corsair. They have some new memory here lined up for Computex 2013. So Rick, tell us, what is the new Vengeance series and how it came to be?
Okay, well sure. Well, first of all, here's one of the new modules right here. The reason we came out with the new Vengeance Pro line, which is higher than our current Vengeance line, is last year we came to Computex and a lot of the overclockers were asking us, when are you going to give us some new overclocking memory to help break some of the records out there? So we came out with the Vengeance Pro line. It has higher performance. Right now it's designed to overclock heavily on Haswell systems. So right now we shipped initially with kits of going 1600 to 2933 megahertz, and it's very achievable now on a Haswell. Last year on Ivy Bridge processors, getting up above 2666 was a challenge. Yeah. But now with Haswell, 3000 is easily achievable. So we've got these faster speeds. Now we announced 2933 initially, but we also just at the show announced that we've got a new production kit. It's going to go to 3200 megahertz CAS 11. So that's the fastest production kit available currently.
Wow. Right. So with the memory kit, obviously a lot of overclocking potential. So great for overclockers. How does the module is built to suit these overclocking capabilities?
That's a good question. So one thing that we did over the current Vengeance memory line is we moved to a 8-layer PCB. And it's all black. We also went with a new heat spreader design, which was black, and we've got it in multiple colors now. So it comes in gold and blue and red and silver. Also, the ICs are very tightly screened now to make sure that we have plenty of overclocking potential to hit the higher speeds. So that's one of the things, when we say we're back for the overclockers, that's one of the ways we do it.
Yeah. And so just the color, that's based on the speed of the module, or is that just customizable?
The color is completely independent of the speed of the module.
So Rick, you have some benchmarking going on here. Tell us what this setup is doing.
Yeah. Now, one of the things we want to do to prove that we've actually come back with new memory for overclockers is to provide a kit that is just fast outside of the box. So the stock speed of this particular kit that we're showing is 3200 megahertz CAS11, and we believe that's one of the fastest production kits available now. That will run air-cooled. That doesn't include all the overclocking headroom that may be available for people that really want to push the limits up.
So given this is let's say the stock 3200, what is the potential overclocking capability for this module?
I don't know yet, because the person that hand building these kits is still testing all that. Okay. But he's an overclocker himself, Jake Crimmins, so he's going to make sure there's some room in there.
Wow. So excellent, memory from Corsair, very fast, great for overclockers. Comes in 3 different colors. So what is the price range for this? How does it fit in with the rest of Vengeance series and the Dominator series?
Okay, that's. We have the Vengeance line and we have the Dominator line. What Vengeance Pro is doing is it's sitting above the Vengeance in terms of providing overclocking performance. Okay. It's actually getting up into Dominator speeds, but actually bringing it at a price point that's a little more affordable for the overclockers out there.
Okay. And given this is sort of reaching towards that level, towards the Dominator line, where do you see the Dominator line heading? If the Vengeance series is becoming so strong, is it? Is Dominator line becoming obsolete?
Well, we have these new memories coming out in cycles, so you'll see an update to Dominator coming in the future. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
You're welcome.